Okay, so welcome everybody to the technical session 2, which is part of WaiHackathon Canada 2024. You can join us on Discord for the hackathon if you are a participant or mentor. You can email us if you have any query. Next, we will be running these workshops starting October 4. That was our previous technical workshop till November 1, which is our final hackathon day. In total, we have 8 sessions, one of which is already done and recorded, and we'll release it soon. This is our second technical workshop. With this, we also have 4 mentorship sessions. Some of you might have been part of last mentorship sessions. Because we are a volunteer-led community and our mentors and the participants, everybody is volunteer. We are kind of low at the moment with mentor representation, and we are onboarding more. So you will hear from mentors soon if you haven't heard yet. This is our team. I'm Preeti Yadav. I'm co-lead for this hackathon. Lahari is co-lead on this hackathon as well. She'll be joining us towards the QA part of the session. You will see all these members in and out, sometimes in technical workshops, sometimes in emails, and on LinkedIn. This is the entire team behind bringing the hackathon to life in 2024. And hope we all get to say hi to each other. Thanks to our sponsors, TELUS, NextAI, EQ Bank, for supporting us in this hackathon, and keep the team spirit high. And yes, I think we need more supporters. Okay, so the moment we have been waiting for. What is today's technical workshop is about, right? It's going to be exciting. Who doesn't want to know what a technical product manager, does in day-to-day life, what kind of challenges they face, and how do they tell, their team that what exactly, we all need that roadmap, right? We need those mentors. These are these technical product managers. Let me talk a little more about it. So first, what are we going to discuss in today's session? We are diving into the crucial role of technical product managers who play in bridging the gap between technology and business. We'll discuss the unique skills and responsibilities the technical product managers need to thrive, and explore how they drive innovation by balancing technical expertise with business insights. This is especially relevant for those involved in AI hackathon, as understanding the TPM role can help align projects and with real-world business needs. It's an opportunity to think beyond technical aspects and focus on how AI solutions can create genuine value, supporting the creation of products that are not only innovative, but also strategically aligned. This session is perfect for anyone looking to expand their impact in technical product development. Now, let's welcome our guest speaker, Adewunmi. Adewunmi, an AI product manager with a background in economics and AI, brings a multicultural perspective to her work in telecommunications sector. She co-founded WomEconomics and is a community leader with a focus on empowering women. Over to you, Adewunmi.
Thank you, Preeti. Hi, everyone. Happy to be here. I'm just going to share my screen. Preeti, can you confirm if you can see my screen?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. So I am looking forward to this session. I won't use up the full hour, so there will be time for Q&A and time back for those who are currently taking their lunch. And it's going to be an insightful discussion, so please feel free to use the chat, ask questions, and interact as well. So we're going to cover a handful of things. We're going to start off with technical product management. What are some of the skills that you need to have to be an effective one? And what are some of the responsibilities? How is that different from a traditional product manager? After that, I'll talk about some of the challenges that a typical TPM faces and what are the steps you can take to overcome them. And ultimately, we need to always be prepared for the future. So what is the current trend in the technical product management field? And we will wrap things up with a case study example where you can comment below and share your insights on how you would approach and tackle the situation. Pretty already gave a good intro about myself, so I'll briefly brush through the slides. But I studied in Montreal at Concordia University, so anyone from Montreal, shout out to you. I started off my career in consulting, and then I pivoted to product management. I've been working in this space for a little over 3, going on to 4 years now, and I'm currently an AI product manager at TELUS in the AI Accelerator. So thank you, TELUS, for this opportunity. And just a bit about myself, I am Nigerian. I was born and raised in Dubai. I did see somebody joining from Saudi Arabia, so Assalamu alaikum. I play 3 instruments, I'm left-handed, and as Preeti mentioned, I'm really involved in my community, so I like to do a lot of things outside my typical 9 to 5. I do know that we already did a little bit of an icebreaker question, where some people commented and mentioned where they're tuning in from, but I would really like to talk about the second question here. What do you do? So if a few of you can comment in the chat what you currently do, if you're currently in the AI field, if you're aspiring to be in the AI world, or if you are just interested and fascinated about it, but doesn't have any intentions to actually enter into it, you can comment in the chat below. Okay, so we have somebody who is an AI major student. That's nice, Nancy. Okay, we have another student at York University, an AI specialist, computer science. So we do see a lot of people who are currently in the AI world, so kudos to you. Aspiring to be in the field, graduated in the field, that's amazing. And I'm really happy and excited to know that you all are in this short workshop today. Another question, just to kind of see any similarities between us. What month were you born? So comment below your month, and let's see if we can find a buddy for you. July. Okay, I was born in June. Anyone else born in June? Okay, so far no one. Okay, we have January, September. I'm pretty sure we'll cover all the months, so that is definitely good. But I did hear, I think September is known to be the most popular month for birthdays. Okay, we do have a June person. That is awesome. Okay. That was a nice icebreaker. Thanks everyone for engaging in that. With that being said, let's get started. So why does a technical product manager matter in the modern tech world we're currently in? For 3 specific reasons. The first one is that as a TPM, you are an innovator. You're being innovative as you're bringing innovative solutions to real life current problems. You also are connecting and bridging the gap between engineers, stakeholders, and so on. And this is where you would really hone in on a lot of your business skills, your communication skills. And finally, you also need to be strategic in the way how you approach situations, in the way how you approach problems that may arise as a technical product manager, and always having that business cap on as well, as ultimately you're ensuring that the product that you're managing is bringing value to your end users. What are some of the unique values of a technical product manager? The first one is that a technical product manager brings technical insights, where you have an understanding of technical complexities, and you are able to translate those complexities to real business impacts. This doesn't mean that you need to know how to code extensively or how to create a model, but it does mean that you need to have foundations where you can understand these concepts, have a discussion with your technical team members, engineers, and so on, and obviously talk about those details with your stakeholders. You also have a narrow vision, and that vision is focusing on ultimately the product being developed from the initial stages up until testing and launching. You wear the hat of a project manager, where you're managing the budget, you're managing the resources, you're managing the time, and you're ultimately managing the expectations and the goals. And you want to ensure that you have a successful delivery or a successful launch, depending on the type of product you're managing. And finally, you want to ensure that as a technical product manager, you are aligning the product strategy with the technical capabilities, and having the mindset of what's happening in the market demands. For instance, I myself, as a technical product manager, I currently work at TELUS. I need to continuously be mindful of what is happening within the telecom industry. How is that relevant for my stakeholders who would use the products that my team and I are developing, and ensure that it is something that would be useful for multiple months and years to come as well. The most common question is, so Adewunmi, what is the major difference between a technical product manager and a traditional product manager? Starting off with a traditional product manager, you are most of the times customer facing. You are mindful of, the overall product strategy, and you may not necessarily work with a lot of technical teams. You may have 1 or 2 analysts on the team, and that may be it. On the TPM side, as I already covered, you have a stronger technical background. You maybe have a background as a computer science student, an AI student, or you did certain certifications and courses to prepare you for that. And you work extensively with technical team members. But between these two, there's lots of similarities, such as being strategic, ideating, working with stakeholders in general, notes taking, lots of documentation, creating roadmaps, updating the roadmaps, creating features, and ultimately having a go-to-market strategy. This is just another summary of some of the skill sets and the training, which I've already touched upon. But one thing that I would just want to emphasize on a little bit more would be the degree. You would notice that a lot of universities currently, there's not a specific degree called a product management degree. And that just kind of shows you how you can have a foundation in pretty much anything and build off of that foundation to prepare you to work as a technical product manager or as a product manager. And I like to use myself as an example. I studied economics, business, and French, which to some may seem very irrelevant to the product management space. But I would say it was a really good foundation where I did learn a handful of mathematical concepts, which has been helpful in my role as a product manager, and also lots of business communication concepts as well. Starting off my career in consulting was a good foundation, as that also helped me to learn how to communicate effectively with stakeholders and ultimately ensure that I bring value continuously to my team members as well. And the last one here that I want to highlight would just be the salary. Most product managers can make anywhere between like 60K up until to 100K. And this purely depends on the industry you're working in, the number of years of experience you have, and also your background. So what are some of the essential skills for success? The first one is technical understanding. And I want to stress upon here knowing how to create process maps, knowing how to read process maps, knowing how to break down those difficult concepts into simple words, then communicating that with the cross-functional teams, depending on the organization you work with and how big it is. You may be working on a daily basis with the financial team, the marketing team, the pricing team, and so on. And also you'll be giving updates to your leaders. That's your managers, your directors, the VPs. And you want to be able to know how to prepare slides, presentations that ensures that you are giving them enough details on what is happening on the product development, but also ensuring that it's still aligning with the business goals or the organization goals ultimately. I have highlighted here 4 major challenges a typical technical product manager can experience. The first one is balancing technical depth with delivery deadlines. And what this basically means is that as a product manager is working towards their goals and working towards their roadmaps, there can be new demands brought up by their stakeholders or priorities being shifted because of what's happening in the market. So this can be frustrating because you're no longer following a set rule that you had in place. And this means that you just need to be very adaptable. The second challenge would be navigating changing priorities, as I mentioned. and understanding how you can balance ambitious goals that your team may have or ambitious goals that your leadership may have that is beyond your control with the constrained resources. And for most organizations, the biggest constrained resource would be time. A lot of things takes time to be done, especially when you want to ensure that you aren't just shipping products fast, but you're also shipping products that have value and that you're shipping products that won't have to have multiple updates, bugs, fixes, and so on. Communicating across multiple stakeholder groups can be overwhelming, especially when you're also playing the role of a project manager. You will notice that in a lot of big organizations, there's normally one department or one team that's pretty technical and other teams aren't. So just knowing how to translate certain terminologies may take longer than expected for them to understand, and may mean you may have to re-explain certain things multiple times. You also would be faced with the challenge of having stakeholders that are busy. Stakeholders, they already have their own projects. The pricing team may have their own projects that they work on a daily basis. The marketing team have their own campaigns that they're trying to launch on a monthly basis. And you're here introducing an AI solution that is adding more work for them. So one way how to solve this problem is to show them the value that you're creating for them to help them with their processes. So they don't feel as though that you were trying to replace their job by just introducing AI, but trying to provide assistance to their current operations by introducing AI. And the last challenge would be staying current with rapid technology advancements. And what do I mean by this? Something that may take 6 months to develop could become obsolete in less than 1 year. And that means the return on investments is pretty low or almost non-existent. Technologies have been evolving quite fast, and this can be frustrating for a lot of teams as it feels as though their products aren't being used the way it's meant to be used, or they're spending too much money developing something that won't have high return on investment. How do you then convince the leadership team to keep on investing in the AI department? These are some of the challenges that the PM faces, especially a technical product manager. But obviously, with challenges creates opportunities to help combat these challenges. So what are some of the approaches you can take? Firstly would be prioritizing and triage technical depth. So you want to be able to balance between building new features and addressing long-standing technical issues. What this would mean is, as much as you are getting demands to add on new features, you're getting demands to expand your roadmap, you need to make sure that you also include time to triage any situations, any problems that may arise. And one effective way to do this is by adopting the agile methodology and resource management, which is my second solution or my approach. By just commenting in the chat, how many of us are familiar with the agile concept? Do you have anyone who's familiar with it, or people that would love to have like an introduction into it? Okay, awesome. So lots of us here are already familiar with the agile methodology. And I would say as a product manager, that will be your best friend. You may sometimes feel like you are nagging and you're chasing people, but hey, it is the job. And what you can do is that you can set expectations with your working team. You can set expectations with your stakeholders, and you can set expectations with your management team. And what does that look like? For instance, ensuring that you operate in like a 2-week sprint basis, have retro sessions periodically. It can be on a monthly basis, it can be on a quarterly basis, depending on how big the team is and how fast the project is moving. Set up backlog grooming sessions where you continuously refine items that have been brought up in a call by a stakeholder. And during the backlog grooming session, it's important to also see what is the value of working on this request that a stakeholder suggested. You should know that many times in lots of calls and meetings, stakeholders can ask for the whole world, but that doesn't mean that you're meant to do it. And this then leads to my third solution, managing and communicating across stakeholders technical terms, especially encouraging them to share ownership of problems and solutions. Ultimately, you are working collaboratively with your end users, you're working collaboratively with your stakeholders, and having them drive certain initiatives or assist in getting certain documentation or certain data that you need would make sure that they realize that they're also having a stake in this project, if that is their own team members' time or even their team members' resources as well. When it also comes with communicating things with stakeholders, it's very important to be patient and try to use visuals as much as possible. So visuals could be using a process map to explain how something flows. So let's say if they're asking, oh, can this model score at 9 a.m. in the morning? But you already know that that is not feasibly possible, just based on when the timing of when the data arrives and the timing of when it needs to go through all this data validation and checks before the model can actually score it. And then even after it's scored, it still needs to get passed on to different systems and so on. So if all that is kind of shown to them, they will understand and realize that, okay, this is not feasible, but 12 p.m. may be feasible instead. Another example could be showing them UIs. So showing them a GUI could help them understand and really appreciate the intensive work that you as a product manager is putting in and what your team members is doing as well. And the last one here about all of the fast-pacedness of the world of AI, product management, and so on, it's important for you to develop a culture of continuous learning. So be intentional about training. Ask your manager, your leaders for opportunities to attend workshops, to attend industry events where you can expose yourself to learn from other product managers, how they operate, and also being relevant and knowing what's happening in the world. This could also look like having a more intentional sharing sessions within your team or across your business units where you're learning from other PMs and other developers who are working on maybe Gen-AI products, but you are working on speech to text products, and somebody else is purely working on traditional ML modeling, and so on. A lot of these approaches that I have listed here are things that I have implemented in my day-to-day job and what I also have been experiencing as an AI product manager at TELUS as well. And just piggybacking off of the last point I mentioned about the future trends in TPM, there are lots of things happening. First off, we see AI ML just advancing on a daily basis, where even specific PM tasks are being automated. So what are some examples of a PM task? I mentioned that a PM does a lot of documentation. So you may document things as granular as what you do during a meeting, so taking meeting notes, but that can be documented today. You have AI that summarizes it for you, even makes it very organized and neat, even better than how a human can do it. And that ultimately saves time for you as well. You also have a lot of automation of development tasks. So before, many product managers will have to manually create test cases, manually monitor how often their model scores or how often something executes or how often something fails. But all of this can be easily automated. So as a technical product manager, I strongly encourage you to challenge your team to continuously find ways to automate processes and tasks. There are also many interesting industries that a product manager can work in as well, such as fintech, health tech. I currently work in telecommunication, and it is a very, very fast-paced environment. My own personal experience, I've worked closely with the marketing team. So how can I help the marketing team use AI to execute successful campaigns? How can I help the marketing team to use AI to create personalized campaigns based on customers' profile, based on interactions, words, conversations customers mentioned during a phone call with an agent? I have been working closely with the pricing team. How can I help the pricing team make the best pricing decisions based off of looking at historical performances? How can we use AI to predict the best pricing decision based on what is happening in the industry collectively? And the list can go on. You can use AI in the food industry as well. You can use AI in the transportation industry. So in case someone here is doubting their choice of studying AI or their choice of entering into AI, I want to encourage you that you aren't making a bad decision. You're making a good decision. Some people kind of stumble and find themselves in that space. Some people have been intentional to be in that space and they end up becoming an amazing leader in that space. So just keep on doing that. And the last thing I'll mention here is that there has been lots of ethical dilemmas around AI. AI can be biased, right? Because AI ultimately is trained off of what you feed it. And if your data source is biased, then your model will be biased. And there is a really cool documentary that I would recommend for people here to watch if you haven't. It's called Coded Biases. So has anybody watched it before? I watched it when it was on Netflix. If you haven't, I highly encourage to watch it. It's really good. Okay, so that kind of wraps up the first section of my presentation. I am going to now move on to a mini case study. So the way how this case study would work, I'm going to read the prompting and I'm going to read the question as well. So for each of the questions, feel free to type something in the chat. If you want to unmute yourself, Pretty, do people have access to unmute themselves or they don't?
Let me check. I think they can unmute themselves. Okay,
perfect. So if you would like to maybe voice out your thoughts instead, feel free to raise up your hand and you can voice your thoughts. And let's make this a bit of an interactive session for the next 7 to 5 minutes. So the case study is based on managing cross-functional teams and changing priorities. You are leading the development of a major product update in an AI-powered app. Midway through development, the executive team decides to shift the product's focus to target a new customer segment, requiring a pivot in the features you are already building. Your engineering team is frustrated with the constant changes, and stakeholders are concerned about meeting the deadline. First question, how do you handle sudden changes in product direction while maintaining team morale and productivity?
That's some tricky question you just asked.
It is, but this is the reality of a technical product manager.
Yeah. Well, you can unmute yourselves if you want to answer the question. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer.
Yeah, there are no wrong answers.
I'm not sure how as we said, there are no wrong answers. Okay, we have one response. I try to make a balance between the expectation of stakeholders and what my team can do in a short amount of time.
Yes, that is good. So this pretty much is communicating what is reality, you know? A lot of people have unrealistic expectations, unrealistic demands because they don't know how long certain things take, or they don't understand that when you develop a feature, you need to develop new additional features every time a new lever or like a new focus area is introduced into the project, and that can delay things tremendously. So I definitely agree upon that. Thanks so much, Fatima, for sharing. Another thing to highlight could be acknowledging your team's frustration. So as a product manager, you also want to ensure that you make time for your team members. If that's during like your stand-up or if that's during your sprint retros, you hear their concerns, you hear the frustrations. And if it's a continuous thing, this is something that you can raise up to your leaders, right? Your managers, not necessarily the stakeholders managers. Hin said, I think to focus on key business values and deliver the product on many versions. That is an excellent point. And this is where a product manager, you stay very close to the roadmap. you explain to your stakeholders at the beginning of the project that this is the roadmap that we're building for you. So based on your original request, it will take us 3 months to launch this AI-powered app with this specific feature. If you want us to change the customer focus, it would either mean two things. Number one, it would mean that we're going to extend this roadmap and add it as a phase 2 approach, or it could mean that we have to end what we're doing now, restart, and it will still cause there to be a delay. So you can kind of present to them the options and let them know what you would recommend, what you would advise before they make the decision as well. So thank you, Hind, for that answer as well. The second question, how can you ensure alignment between stakeholders and the development team during the pivots? Rotimi, I see your hand is up. You can unmute yourself and answer.
Okay, so to ensure alignment, I would make sure that the requirements are clear from business, and then also involve at high level someone from the development team once we're midway into the business requirements, so that both business and development can mention if these requirements are realistic from a development perspective. So that's what I would do.
That is a really good answer. Are you a product manager, Rotimi?
No, a technical business analyst.
Nice. So you are basically answering what you have been experiencing on a daily, if not hourly basis. Well, that was a good answer. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Okay, Fatima says regular sessions and communicating results. That is true. And one thing that you can do, okay, Judith says frequent demos and reviews. Amazing. And it's important to have a realignment meeting. And what does that mean? So let's say, so I'll talk about my own example on how I currently operate. So I work closely with the pricing team, and the pricing team is very big. So there's certain people that I work with that we call ourselves the working team. We meet twice a week. If something like this happens, it means that it's a suggestion that's coming from their leaders or like from the broader team. So then I would suggest to have a quick realignment meeting so we're all on board. So if that means like their directors, the working team managers, and ensure that collectively we're all on the same page. What I'll then do as well would maybe send out the meeting notes or send out the recording if the session was recorded, so it's documented as well. You know, the saying of leaving receipts everywhere, that's the concept you also want to try to do. So people realize that it's not as easy to go back on your word. Does anyone have any other comments they want to mention before we move on to the last question?
Yeah, I guess I'm with that point of realignment. It's super necessary because sometimes the stakeholders come from a non-tech background, and their expectations can be XYZ, but keeping them in loop can make it easy for them to understand as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks so much, Priti, for that. Last question, what steps should be taken to reassess the roadmap and timeline given the new focus? I think we kind of already touched upon this through the answers, but if anybody has something new they want to share or something completely different, a different perspective, we're open to hear that.
With AI, realignment is frequent.
I think but I imagine that AI realignment is frequent. Yes, it happens more frequent than I would like it to. So that's why I would always say that your roadmap, your documents, they're all living things. Living meaning that it continuously gets updated. It's like a baby. You can't leave the baby unattended. It's as silly as sometimes your roadmap can be outdated on a daily basis. That's how fast it can change. And so speaking on roadmaps, one thing that I would suggest is to have a high-level roadmap and have a very detailed roadmap. And your high-level roadmap shouldn't change frequently. It's kind of constant because you just kind of put things in maybe 4 phases. Phase 1 is development. Phase 2 is testing. Phase 3 is MVP launch. Phase 4 is full rollout, for instance. So that's kind of their executive team are aligned with that. And then the more detailed roadmap, you're then discussing that with your working team. And that's the one that may change based on priorities and based on realities of how long certain things take. Just as something I would also mention about the roadmap is to make sure to include some of the things you expect your stakeholders to do as well in that roadmap. So the roadmap should not only be for your team, but for the teams involved. And another document that could be helpful alongside the roadmap would be something called a RACI chart that kind of shows the responsibilities, who's accountable for what, who needs to be informed. And it just gives more clarity to the stakeholders to know who's doing what on a weekly basis as well. So that's the conclusion of our case study. Thank you very much for participating. Gonna move on. Yeah, so those are the answers which we already kind of talked about. So just to quickly recap what we've discussed so far. Number 1 is we discussed the role of a technical product manager. We talked about the difference between a product manager and a technical product manager. And the major difference is just that a technical product manager is more technical. They are more concerned about codes. They're more concerned about systems and models and so on. They're not necessarily client focused. Their stakeholders or their end users rather could be other business units compared to product managers whose end users are customers. We also talked about the essential skills a technical product manager should have. And I cannot stress this enough. It's so important to know how to communicate, how to be friendly, knowing when to put your foot down on certain things. If something is being dragged on too long, and make sure that you immediately inform the key people that needs to be informed. Let's say your manager needs to be informed. If it needs to be escalated to your director, that should be done as soon as possible. You need to make sure that you know how to negotiate as well. And that's something that I am currently learning based on where I'm at with my projects on my current team that I'm working with. We also talked about some of the challenges a technical product manager faces and what are some of the things that can be done to mitigate that. We highlighted where AI is advancing for a technical product manager, different areas of opportunities. So don't put all your eggs in the same basket. Look into applying for different roles if you're at that stage of looking for a job. If you are still in school, try your level best to continue to attend events like this, hackathons like this. You know, think of how you can introduce AI to certain things that people won't even imagine AI could be useful for. Be a trailblazer in your world. And finally, call to action, basically continuously be a learner. You can't stop learning, especially when your job can be outdated as quickly as in a year. One of my favorite saying, I don't know who invented this, so I don't have a call out for that, but AI won't take your job. People who know how to use it will. And this is a very true saying. Thank you once again for listening. Thank you for participating. For those who answered in the chats, that was extremely helpful. I do hope you learned something new today about technical product management. If you have any more specific questions that you want to ask me, maybe you want to ask me some questions about the telecom industry. I've worked across 2 different companies so far and different types of use cases. We've worked on like real-time models, batch models. So I'm really happy to kind of talk a little bit about my experience as well. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. In order to scan this barcode, you need to scan it in the LinkedIn app, so you can't use your camera. And if anybody has any questions right now, please feel free to unmute yourself, raise up your hand, or even put the questions in the chat, and I'll be happy to talk through it as well. Okay, so we have 2 questions. I'll start with the question in the chat. KD says, thanks for the insightful session. How do you manage expectations for a roadmap you didn't create? Say you took over a project and the past product manager didn't do an excellent job with the roadmap. How do you navigate balancing deliverables with updating the roadmap to a more realistic plan? Okay, this sounds like 4 questions in one. And this is actually a very good question. So thank you for asking. So the way how I would approach this is I'll talk about what I'm currently going through. So I joined TELUS this past summer. So just a little over 2.5 months now, almost 3 months now. And there was a product manager at some point in the team, then there wasn't for a bit of time, and then I joined. So I kind of had to take over certain projects that have already been in operation. And obviously, every product manager does things differently, especially if things aren't standardized across, let's say, your team, for instance. So there was already a high-level roadmap created for certain things that I needed to kind of build off of. So for that specific example, the way how I was able to communicate that and navigate that with my team members or with my stakeholders was to just let them know that I didn't create this roadmap. We're going to have to readjust this based on what I can see and sense as the current situation of where we're at as a team. So what that means is that if that roadmap kind of only focused on 1 or 2 areas and it wasn't as fleshed out as I would like it, I made adjustments to it and I communicated that with the team. I communicated that with the stakeholders, and they were very understanding because they knew that, okay, I'm kind of joining in the project halfway and so on. And then for your second question about navigating, balancing deliverables that needs to be done while updating the roadmap to more realistic plans, this is pretty much what you do on a daily basis, right? So even on a literally daily basis, new request comes in from the VPs based on what they're seeing in the market. Oh, we just saw that this competitor launched this. Why did this happen? Can we have a quick analysis that shows us why ABC happened? Oh, we just saw this happen in the market. So what I would do as a product manager would to create buffers in my roadmap to account for seen/unforeseen circumstances, meaning that if something I know takes 2 weeks to get done, I might put 2.5 weeks or 3 weeks. So that way, whenever new request comes in periodically from upper management that we can't decline, it was already accounted for invisibly in the roadmap. So that would be like the strategy I would say as somebody who's new into the product management world. And then the other thing I would say is if, let's say, there's no buffer in the roadmap, the product that you need to launch needs to be launched by a certain deadline, but you're still getting these shorter deliverables, I'll then have a quick touch point to ask them what is more priority. Would you want us to pause on this to quickly get done your short-term ask and then come back to that? And many times stakeholders would then let us know what is more urgent for them. And this is where I'd say that you need to put your foot down as needed when things get busy and hectic as a product manager. So I hope that answers that question for you, KD. Next question, Watimi says, what recommended courses were helpful to you in demystifying AI? Oh, that's a good one. So I did 2 courses. One of the courses I did, so all the courses I did were through Coursera. Many organizations have like Coursera licenses, or you can ask your team, your managers to enroll you in 1 or 2 courses. And Coursera is actually free, I think, for the first, either if it's 2 weeks or 1 month. So if you know you have like summer vacation is opened and you have so much time, just sit down, try to get that course done and retain all that learning. So I did a certification in like foundations into data science. I think this was the University of Michigan certification. And that was helpful for me because I am not a traditional computer science major. So just having those concepts kind of re-explained to me made it so simple whenever my engineers and analysts are saying certain buzzwords that it didn't make sense to me before. Then the other course I did was through a product school. The one I went through was, I think it was product faculty. So it was literally like a product management certification. It was like a 4 weeks long certification program that I did at that time. And you would also notice that there's lots of AI product manager certifications. So I would just caution to do your due diligence to see which one is worth the investment based on credibility, based on the value for it, how reputable it is as well. And if you already have done something like that in your undergrad or in your master's, then it may not be as useful to just get a certification for getting its sake. I may recommend instead to maybe do like an agile certification, a Scrum Master certification instead, to just show yourself to be a bit more balanced and well-rounded. And you'll notice that as a product manager, you wear many hats. You're your team's product manager, you're your team's program manager, you're your team's Scrum Master, and project manager as well. Second question, what is the usefulness of a graduate degree in AI? Are you pursuing any? So I already mentioned this before, that I do believe it's very useful to do a degree in AI. What I would recommend is to chat through your options with career advisors and academic advisors. And when I was in school, like when I was deciding to study economics, one of the reasons why I did choose that was because it was broad enough to be a good foundation to build off of. And that was the mindset I had going into economics. And I know that many people may decide to do an AI master's degree. Obviously, when you're doing a master's, you want to ensure that you're going to have good return on your investment. And it's in something that you see yourself working in for a while. So just make sure to speak to an academic advisor, career advisor before you do that. And a lot of people now really look into work experience. So even if, let's say, you have worked as an engineer before, or you have worked as a project manager, or you have worked in something that's not necessarily AI related, you still have certain skills you have developed. So you can use that to pursue opportunities whilst you were either working towards a master's or maybe doing an AI certification, just to have that bit of a technical understanding. And truly, like, if you personally don't like technical concepts, don't force yourself to become a technical product manager. You can work in AI without being technical. There are other opportunities, and it may be more of a struggle, or it can even be more of a burden to work in that world if you don't already enjoy it now, or if you find it extremely challenging and difficult. So then the last one, any helpful podcasts or YouTube pages to follow or recommend? I do actually have a few suggestions. Let me just open up my notes. Yeah, so first thing I'll say is that if you're already not active on LinkedIn, I would encourage everyone to be active on LinkedIn. It doesn't mean you have to post. It just means that you follow certain accounts, certain pages, certain influencers in this space. And the way how LinkedIn works, when you like something, another person can see it, like it shows up on your feed. So you just kind of fall into that rabbit hole and you just become some more informed. So you can follow things like TechCrunch, MedCity News, CB Insights. There's lots of cool companies like Square, Play, Stripe, and obviously TELUS. I work for TELUS. So follow us. We have an amazing LinkedIn page as well. I may put that in the chat, and I can also share it with Pretty so she can share it with everyone here on the call. Try to attend events. Like there's lots of, like there was an Elevate festival that happened a few days ago. There was Collision that happened a few months ago in Canada. There's BPTN happening in a few weeks from now as well. There's always something happening in the AI/tech space. There's even like cool people that you can follow. So like I normally follow lots of tech companies. I follow Google, I follow Microsoft, and they normally post maybe articles, they post events that they're hosting, and so on. I also try to follow lots of CEOs, CIOs, COOs. I kind of see the type of things that's happening in their organizations. You know, at the end of the day, lots of things are similar across industries and within the AI space. You see lots of tech leaders coming together at the conferences. So just be more on LinkedIn and you should be good. I don't have any specific podcast recommendations. I'm not really a podcast person. I'm getting into it. So yes, so that's for that one. Sahil said, I don't really just want to know that is TELUS Microsoft that you just mentioned. No, it's TELUS. I currently work at TELUS. I work as an AI product manager in the AI accelerator in TELUS. So if you're looking for opportunities in TELUS, or you want to learn more about the culture at TELUS, send me a message on LinkedIn. I'll be more than happy to have a coffee chat with you as well. If you are students, they have a grad program as well. So it's a really good opportunity and a good way to enter into the company. You then get to do like rotations, you get to have exposure into different things, and it's a safe space to make mistakes, right? So definitely hit me up if you have questions on that. Katie says, University of Michigan, yes, yeah. It was a good certification program that I did. Afrotech in the US as well. Yes, the US have a lot more conferences in general. So if you are able to travel to the States, please do. You will just open up your world of opportunities. You'll open up your network as well. And, you know, I would just say to raise up your hand as much as possible. If you see something, apply for it. You know, if someone interests you, send them a cold message on LinkedIn. A lot of my mentors, a lot of people that I have been connected with are people that I just messaged out of the blues. I saw them at an event, I followed up with them, we had a coffee chat, and opportunities opened up that way. So just be more vocal, be more confident, stand up for yourself, and opportunities will definitely be around you, especially here in Canada and the States and so on. Pretty mentioned, yes, she did a Python course with Coursera and it was great. Yes, University of Michigan. Looks like everybody likes like university.
Yeah, definitely. I think we are closer to the time, and if anybody has more question, we can take up to one more question. Having said that, I would love to know the documentary you mentioned on Netflix. Could you please share the name again? Yeah, I think I'm taking a couple hours off of the work, so I will go and watch.
Yes, it's called Coded Bias Documentary. Let me just find the link. Yeah, Coded Bias Documentary. I'm just gonna send it in the chat. It's an hour and a half long. It's really good. I highly recommend it.
Thank you.